It's a small balcony. Okay, got my notes. Around 21 minutes, Unseen Perfidy, you were asking about my 3-month quote. I said the helicopter videos should be published in 3 months. Now, I just found that it's better to say 3 months than go a short time or whatever, or even in a matter of months. I thought about saying in a matter of months. But I did come up with that as an estimate, plus or minus, and it's a short period. Maybe you could telescope it way out with an argument. You could say, well, you know, a short period means 3 years. But I think, you know, I tried to take into account this particular kind of data, and I was going, well, after 3 months, the insurgents in Baghdad know they're flying gunships around killing people. So just hiding that that's going on it's not any conceivable advantage. I actually think that gunships, it's such a known thing, what we're going to do now with the gunship cavalry supporting people on the ground. I think that it's just known, and I actually do think there's an argument to say just stream it live. And cop footage. How about that one if you don't think that? What about cops? Cops do have these rules of engagement that are very strict and stuff, and if it's going to be a he said, she said thing, well, we know there's a history of that not always turning out right. Now, I don't think regular people should get spied on, but if you work for the government, I think a lot of what you do should automatically be public. You know, it'll seem private enough because most people won't be interested, but in general, it should be public for interested people could dig into it. And I say that as someone that's worked for the government, right? I mean, I worked my way through college. My main job was at NASA Ames Research Center as a federal employee and a contractor for the federal government for years. And, you know, I worked in science and stuff where, you know, it's funded by governments. And so I think the work I do in that is public. It doesn't make my whole life public. It doesn't make my non-professional stuff. It doesn't have to be public or mixed with that. But in terms of like how am I spending money, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about even reading every business email, right? We're just, when we're talking about the clandestine, the black ops budget, you know, tens and tens of billions, we're not even told that the money's being spent. We're not even told what we get out of it. We don't get anything. We're not smart enough. I think there's a problem when a majority of the people get to elect the representatives, and the representatives don't trust the majority of people with the information. So my estimate is because it's like 3 months, because if you move into a town, after 3 months all the locals know, and it's a matter of telling the people back home what's going on. So who are you hiding it from? Other foreigners that might want to rush in there and help the people getting blown up by gunships a mile away, half-mile away. So, and when you talked about earlier in the video, before 21 minutes, about maybe there's some talk of the rules of engagement have been tightening, which I didn't know, so you're keeping up with that kind of trend. I'd like to have that database fairly live. 3 months to me is just barely live enough. Obviously not live, but contemporary. And then you'd know something like this. You know, if 10 months ago they really did tighten the rules of engagement, you'd know, because even if you didn't pore over those videos, you know someone would. And the ones that had interesting stuff, even the people that didn't understand all the facts would go, well, I don't know, here's what I think happened. They'd be wrong, but it would be an interesting tape. Interesting to answer, or interesting in some other way. So I think this is the only way for us to be informed. I mean, I don't think people like me and you should have to just read Foreign Affairs and get some pretty direct things. It's like whatever this Secretary of State or Undersecretary or, you know, thought or that the public was ready to hear. You know, we get good information. You learn to read between the lines. When Snowden or Manning does a mega dump, we get the public, right? We get at night Conan O'Brien and you know, the talk show hosts get to talk about it. It's a totally different thing. If you understand anything about marketing and public opinion, which is a subject that kind of disgusts me a little bit, but I've learned that no, there's a reason that it's an important field. And so you can't judge what happens by what the court case ruled. It's more important what people know, because they're the ones that are supposed to be judging what's going on, and everybody agrees it's screwed up. We all seem to disagree on why and what could help it, but the system does not have a lot of people saying that it's working great. Okay. I wrote down agents and password level. No idea what I'm talking about except for that. Oh yeah, I remember. Agents, I think metaphors are never, perfect, but there is this mapping from a domain to domain, and this is, some argue compellingly, has at the root of how humans think. So agents, you don't want to give their identity away. That's the analog of the money. I think I was talking about that in the last segment. That's the analog of money, is agents. You hide, where they are, when they're going out, and things like that for obvious reasons, because even one person, a crackpot, could do something to them. But if you wait 3 months in this case and 5 years in this case, and they have rules, I guess in general it's 30 or something, then you don't deal with a crackpot. If you wait 15 years, you don't have to deal with the crackpot killing somebody because the information was released live before the guy even got there, and then he could be sabotaged. And 3 months is a realistic period, I think, when you're having airstrikes from, oh, hi, Mr. Other Cat. I got that cat as a kitten on purpose. That's the only one. And then the black cat that came up is also a kitten on purpose, but by my stepson. Okay, I think I've explained that well enough. Cat explanation. I'm not a cat person is what I'm trying to say. This is a total accident. These cats put themselves on me. If it was up to me, I would have only had one cat. Okay. But these are good cats, actually. They're not like, you can have 4 cats that will just take over your life and make it terrible, but these are the perfect 4 cats. One is an outside tiger. She's white. This is Emily that just came with the house. And this is oh, don't want any attention, huh? Even for scratches? I threatened you by coming to your space. It was an observation space. It was not meant to be. Okay, I get that. And this is the ancient homeless person cat. Looks like Bill the cat. Hi. Hi, Minnie. Meow. Meow. She used to be a lot meaner. She used to bully the other cats. That's one reason I was not that eager to bring her up here. But she came up here and realized, I think she got over her abandonment issue. I'm going to put this part on the other part because basically I didn't get very far. Now I'm on Chantix, but I just really cut down the cigarettes. And if I don't have them, the urge to go buy them is, well, anyway, that's not why we're here, is it? Okay, so I was talking about why 3 months, and I'm not saying, I hope what you get by that is that I'm very flexible. I kind of gave an idea of the kind of information I think that it is, how sensitive, and I chose a shorter, not a super short period, not like live or 3 days, but 3 months. If you're flying those things around in Baghdad for 3 months, people that are down there fighting, you already know you're doing that. And seeing what it's like inside, I mean, yeah, it could be a danger. We talk about, what about agents, tactics, and weapons? Well, that's what I'm taking into account, I think. I mean, you don't put identifying agent information. The tactics and weapons things, some of it comes out, but, it didn't seem like a lot of it. I mean, they can hit you from a mile away, but again, if they've been hitting you from a mile away for a month or years, you kind of know that, and you know the weapons. But it's not like you know what the bullets do when you don't know if it's a hollow point explosive or whatever, right? So I don't think there's a lot of information out there compared to what you might see on the military channel or whatever it's called. I like watching that. I only ever end up watching it when I'm traveling and it's on a hotel thing. It's probably on the Dish TV somewhere, but who knows? Maybe not. They miss a lot of stuff. But I mean, basically, I agree with you in that agents and tactics and weapons. Well, the agents are password level, right? The agents are password level, and the tactics and weapons are what drive the time release. You know, you might never release the names of the agents, even 3 generations later, and I wouldn't really mind that. But what they did and the tactics, I mean, it should come out. And I agree with there's like a 30-year period. Forgive me if I'm wrong, maybe it's 40. Probably varies a little. But I think, you know, there's probably some information that you could arguably wait that long for. But it would be rare. It would be something that multiple presidents were cooperating on, and it took 40 years to get it done. And if it was released before 40, how many long-term plans do our politicians come up with that really need to be worked out delicately, as if by one person that can keep certain parts of the plan to themselves, but among a group for 40, 50 years across generations of politicians? They aren't doing that. You know, if they started doing that, then I'd go, okay, just a minute. We're going to play Minecraft. No, that's great. That's why I'm going to leave it in the video. When he says my real name, I got to cut it out or redo the video, so he knows that. So basically, it's case by case. I mean, how long should you wait to put out? Well, let's say other people wanted to put out information I didn't want to, like they did want to put out the names. Well, when the person dies, I guess. But that's not necessarily fair to their spouse and their kids. So maybe when their spouse, all their immediate family is dead. Or maybe it doesn't really matter. The issue is we want to know how. We don't need to know all the passwords that people have used in the past, but we want to know what their techniques were. So, legal by default. I wonder what that meant, and why I wrote the word expert on there. Watching this video through, I'm watching it through once. Cut out. Cat's blocking off the view and stuff. But I remembered what this meant, which is the legal by default. What I was trying to remember there is that, so if you have a 3-month period, the 3-month gives you a review. Maybe I haven't put it in another segment. I haven't watched the whole thing through yet. I thought I had said it actually, but I want to say it right here, insert it right here, that obviously some things could be classified. Whatever rules you have for classification, you know, you can go out case by case, pick out these things. And just algorithmically, that's a better way to do it than making everything secret. So, that's in my opinion. Interesting. Who knows? Okay, around 26 minutes and 22 seconds, according to my note. Could be the beginning or the end of the period I'm talking about. Hard to tell. I notice I go back and forth. You were saying people are uneducated and uninformed. Right, I agree with that. That's why I like these releases, because they get shocked in the face with what the information really is. Right, don't they? I mean, we had Thomas Drake, release of NSA information. The whole thing they were working on was focused on the incompetence of the people doing it, which I think is also a factor. It's like, even if I was for this kind of thing, I'm not for incompetent people doing it. But basically, you found out, you used that as a hint to go, ooh, these are the kinds of programs they're doing. I'll bet. I did. But most people didn't. And now, after Snowden, most people have to face facts. Oh, that's what they were doing. So they caught up. Now you say it's obvious. It's been obvious for so long. Well, how long? Let's think about it. Has it been obvious for 20 years? I think so. I was kind of raised knowing they tried to do these kind of things. As soon as I learned much about what was going on, seemed like since the 70s. So does that mean that for 40 years, informed people could know what was going on? People that went, you know, with the early facts could know right away, but even if you went with well-aged facts, you could have known 20 years ago, which is about when I was starting to pay attention. I'm 45, so that's 25. That's not true. I was paying attention 30 years. But the first 10 is like I was trying to figure out how to make sense of all the nonsense. But anyway, that's a lot of time either way that I've been waiting, and you, for people to figure out what's really going on, and now it's in their face, and people will always admit it. They might say, we don't do that anymore. But to do that, they'll have to actually change their policies first and convince people they don't, that's yet to be seen. And I'm interested in whatever method helps us to make that change, right? To become a society where we go, oh yeah, we don't need to torture, as you said you agree with. We don't need to waterboard, yeah, that counts. And, I think nothing physical is okay. I draw the line somewhere around sleep deprivation. If you want to really sleep deprive someone so they're physically ill, no. But if you want to wake someone up, twice a night, or maybe a little more, asking them the questions, hey, do you want to tell us yet? And then they go, no, I want to go back to sleep. And you go, well, but we won't really want to know. Are you sure? And you do that a couple times a night. It kind of hassles them. That kind of stressing, certain amount, but I would like to get back to the place where we were discussing whether things like that cross the line, and deciding either way than what we are at now. And I think in terms of a lot of these subjects, the only way the mass media and public absorb and remember it at all, and it doesn't just pass under, just 3 days later and whatnot, is these massive leaks. They become famous enough that it's like a superstar of what the fuck is going on. So the immunity until prosecution, I really like how you did this video. You answered a lot, way more than average of the points that I'm talking about. I don't care at all that you disagree or not, and I'm listening to why you disagree. I'll try to explain and whatnot and defend them. That's just the process. But the fact that you brought them up, that's what is important. So I should say I really like that. So the impunity idea, or I guess more immunity, maybe you could be in jail awaiting trial for a certain period while those prosecutions got going. So just to remind everybody, the idea that it's somebody that leaks government information, not anybody's information, but government information, since they work for us, if they release criminal information, they're immune from prosecution until those other people are being prosecuted, at least indicted, for example. You'd have to have some threshold that counted. That is not a free pass. It just means that the government, the FBI and CIA and whomever, has state cops, whatever, has to jump on it and start a prosecution. It doesn't even mean that the prosecution has to win and get a conviction. So I don't think it's a free pass. It just is because the government, if they wanted to get someone like Manning as much as they did, they would have to at least do show trials. And that might be hypocritical, but at least everybody could see what hypocrites they are. At least do show trials, and with luck, they'd be real trials. And then when you were talking about how long to give Manning, I could see that as being fair. So hopefully that gives you more of an idea of what I'm saying. I don't want to give a free pass, right? But I think that there could be some balance in it, right? So it's like there's a bad cop and a bad criminal. Bad cop and a bad criminal, right? I'm not one of the guys saying that Manning is unequivocally a hero or Assange. Going from what the Guardian reporter said after dealing with them, and going from some of his employers, and what a lot of people say, he's kind of narcissistic and an asshole. Is that my hero? No, but as I've said before, I don't believe in heroes. They're from fairy tales. Actually, a lot of people with various personality disorders are the ones that release this information. My argument is that it's beneficial to society, and we ought to figure out a way to deal with it like that. We don't want to just promote everybody to release all the information that they have. For one, it would flood the market. We would miss the important stuff in the flood. I don't know if that's a good argument, but you get the idea. It's not automatically a good thing, right? But so to me, it's like if Manning has to spend, he's going to be known as this, he's going to wear it for the rest of his life. If he was given time served, that's fair enough. I'm not saying there should be nothing, And that's why I'm like, well, let's link it to what we do to the people whose crimes are revealed this way. He's only a criminal because he revealed information. Some of it revealed criminal activity. I agree, only some of it. A minority of it. Actually, an interesting topic of its own is releasing the diplomatic cables, which just embarrassed us. That is a huge thing. Oh my God. Other countries seem to have noticed, especially South America. Or maybe that's just the ones I've noticed. I guess Europe is getting fucked up, but in Europe it's more like because they're Germany and UK, it's always revealed how much they cooperate with us, and they'd like to tell we're not like those imperialistic Americans. We're over that. And then it turns out, yeah, we were spying on Germans for America. Ooh, that must look bad. Conservatives and liberals alike. Oh, I see it as a corrupt state because of all of that. But whatever, a little bit of it's rhetoric, right? So I don't mind people disagreeing. Okay. All right, well, that's good. I'll finish here. Yeah, halfway through the card. Cheers.